if you're drafting inside the top 5 of the 2026 NFL draft and you don't need a quarterback, Rueben Bain is the perfect fit for you.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast. Cover your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson. I'm an NFL draft analyst with Bleacher Report. That's my guy, Sanchez. He's the director of scouting with the Draft Network and 2019 national champion with those LSU Tigers. And as always, thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. Perfect prospect pairings, guys. We are picking the prospect and pairing them with the team. Yes, it's only been 2 weeks of the NFL. Who cares? We're doing it anyway. Then we have NFL draft storylines, talking about those storylines that we need to keep our eyes on as the season progresses, and then coach them up. Coach K, Coach DP, grab the whistle and tell these NFL coaches, I got the prospect for you. You just got to coach them up to get the best out of them. Before we get into that, Crossover Thursday is presented by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Perfect prospect pairing, Keith, and I've ran through so many different scenarios, to be completely honest with you. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of different ones for me. I was like, man, I like this guy here. I like that guy here. But I'm going to go with, a guy that came in top 5 on my top 10 big board before the season, and he solidified himself so far through the season. That's Rueben Bain Jr. And I'm looking at Tankathon, Keith. And that tank, again, it's only been 2 weeks, so things could change. Some things might not. But the fact is, I looked at the top 5. You have the Jets with the first overall pick, the Saints with the second overall pick, the Miami Dolphins with the third overall pick, the Cleveland Browns at 4, and then the Tennessee Titans at 5. I look at the New Orleans Saints, and I'm going to say this. For what I've seen from Spencer Rattler, quarterback isn't their biggest problem right now, Keith. I don't think this is a team that the way Spencer Rattler has played, he got better in week 2, coming off of I think the first game was against the Arizona Cardinals. He was fine. He was solid, but he got better in week 2, right? He was more aggressive, pushed the ball down the field. He looked more confident. And if that is a sign of things to come that, hey, Spencer Rattler is going to keep doing that exact same thing and keep getting better week after week, because I don't know, maybe reps do matter in the NFL. I don't know, maybe, Keith. We just let guys play and see what happens. If Spencer Rattler keeps getting better, but the team keeps losing and it's not his fault, how do you, as a GM and head coach, look at your fans and say, well, Spencer played well, but we're still going to draft a quarterback, or we're going to give the reins to Tyler Shuck next year? I think they will. In this situation, I would have them bypassing a quarterback. We've talked about it on this pod for feels like the entire time we've been on it. They haven't found the answer, the heir apparent to Cam Jordan.
Nope.
Well,
and they've tried.
I feel like they've tried a lot
for a very long time.
They've tried a lot with a lot of different players, a lot of different draft spots and movements and everything else. I say you draft Rueben Bain Jr. and you let him be the heir apparent. I think that Cam Jordan, was one of your comps when we talked about Rueben Bain a couple weeks ago. That would be my perfect prospect pairing, is putting Cam Jordan probably still be there. Put Rueben Bain on this defensive line with the New Orleans Saints and let him be the future of their pass rush.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. And I think with that situation, they may finally answer the bell as far as them trying to find an heir apparent to Cam Jordan. And shout out to Cam Jordan for continuing to show up and play while he's trying to almost help them out, right? Like, I'm going to sign on for 1 more year for y'all to figure it out, right? And now what we've seen Marcus Davenport, Peyton Turner, Isaiah Foskey. I think the one guy the Saints did get right, DP, was Trey Hendrickson, and they let him walk, right? So
I forgot he was a Saint first.
Yeah, he was a Saint. So I don't get it. I don't know. For some reason, Trey Hendrickson makes people don't want to pay him. I don't know what it is, right? It's
maybe it's producing. I don't know. Like it's like, hey guys, I got 15 sacks. I want my money. It's like, we don't want to do that.
We don't. Yeah, Dave. I don't get it. No, but I like that pairing, DP. I'm gonna go with this, man. I'm gonna go with Caleb Downs to the New York Giants. And I believe at this point they needed a lot, DP.
Yeah.
You look at the Dallas Cowboys hanging 40 on them in overtime. Then you look at who was that? They played the Commanders, and I think they held the Commanders to maybe 20 points. I think it was like 20-3,
Yeah.
something like that was the final score. But just the back end of their secondary, and I believe they signed Javon Holland from Miami last year because they were trying to this upcoming year, this present year, I'm sorry, they signed
Yeah.
Javon Holland, and I think they were just trying to get that presence, right? But I believe now starting to see a little bit of why Miami decided to part ways with Javon Holland. And they just need a young physical enforcer, guy that can do some different things because their front three, DP, and I didn't say a front seven because I'm talking about solely the pass rushers, right? Abdul Carter,
Yeah.
Burns, and Kayvon Thibodeau. Those guys can get after it, and you've seen it early on in the game, but I think there started to be adjustments, right, by the Dallas Cowboys, and then somehow they score ballooned to 40 points. And so they need secondary help overall in with the New York Giants. And I look at a guy like Caleb Downs, and why I can't even say he doesn't do it, right? But at this point on film, you don't know if he's elite cover guy. But I know just the multiplicity and what he's able to, in versatility and what he's able to provide could be really good for the New York Giants and just helping that defense take the next step. Because offensively, you're seeing it with Russell Wilson and all beaters against the Dallas Cowboys defense. But I think they'll be okay offensively. You have a guy like Malik Neighbors who can go for 200 yards. I think you're okay offensively. And then the combination of Cam Scatterbull and Tyron Tracy, I think they'll be all right. It's just they need secondary help.
Yeah, they need playmaking because when you have a front four of, like you said, Kayvon, Abdul Carter, Brian Burns, you got big Dexter Lawrence in the middle, who's one of the best defensive tackles in the league. When you can get to a quarterback with 4, but your secondary isn't doing their job, that's frustrating. And I think there was a report that came out earlier this week that said that Dexter Lawrence was getting frustrated. So it's like, like if he's getting frustrated, that's your best defensive player right now. You lose him, or if he demands and requests a trade, you should get a nice return on the investment, but you're losing a big part of why your defense has success. And whether it's as a run defender or him collapsing the pocket, he can allow those guys to get one-on-ones because you got to double team him every single snap. Because if you don't, he can get in the backfield. So, what was it? Deontay Banks hasn't been consistent
as advertised. And him coming out of college, right? There were development things that needed to happen. Just like he could have been a first rounder, he could have been a second rounder also, right? Like in just kind of putting that in context where like he was just kind of right on that threshold of players. And so I'm right there with that, DP, that is just like, just inserting him. You can't lose Dexter Lawrence. You have a good front four that a lot of teams will want. Now it's just adding to the back end of it.
Yeah, big time. Like they have to figure that part out in a massive way. Keith, I'm gonna go with one more here. And right now, the Chicago Bears are slated they're picking at 6 right now. Tyreek Stevenson has not been great for them this year. He's struggled. You know what you have in Kyler Gordon and the other defensive backs they have.
Jalen Johnson and
he's probably out for the season now.
Yeah, he's out for the season now. Yeah.
You know,
I look Jaquan Brisker and I think Jaquan Brisker's up. Yep.
So I look at our boy from LSU, Mansour Delane. And I think he would be a perfect fit for Dennis Allen. Loves to pressure quarterbacks, but he also likes to play man coverage. Like he likes to get physical, get to the line of scrimmage. He wants to disrupt timing, and he wants to send guys, show simulated pressures. He wants to get after the quarterback. Well, if your corners can't cover or they're struggling, you don't want to send as much pressure because you don't have as much help in the back end. So I look at Mansour Delane and just the way he's played this year. And it's not one of those situations where, like, I think like an AJ Harris for Penn State, who hasn't been tested yet, teams aren't really throwing at him, right? You know what I mean? Like teams are like, nope, because they're playing small schools. It's like, why would I do this? Why would I target this guy? I'm not, you're good. Go over with Richard Sherman, you throw some receiver over there, and you just, chill for the game. Going up against Oregon when they do see him, you're probably gonna see DeCarrion Moore, the 10-4 in the 100-meter dash, the 5-star freshman. That's gonna be your first real test with Dante Moore at quarterback and things like that. Mansour Delane's been targeted. It's just not worked out for the offense. So, like, for me, it's like putting him in that secondary with Jalen Johnson, with Kyler Gordon, with those guys healthy. I think that would be a perfect pairing for a Dennis Allen defense and to just continue to build this team up.
Yeah, no, I like that too. And I agree with you, DP. And one thing that people need to start paying attention to is scheme changes on cornerbacks. And people don't pay attention enough. And Tyreek Stevenson was one of the guys that I kind of highlighted just from like, okay, like, hey, Eberflus isn't there anymore. You're not going to be playing zone coverage. What does it look like that you're going to be playing man? Him and Sauce Gardner were two that I'm like, okay, let's see, a scheme change. Yeah, like, and then you have to play more man to man. Let's see what this looks like for you, because that heavily affects those guys and impacts those players overall. But DP, let's do this, man. We talked about the perfect pairings, right? We took a draft prospect, said this where he needs to go. Let's talk about what are the biggest NFL draft storylines today. And I have a hot one coming in. So let's talk about that coming up next.
Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than just simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS top safety pick awards than anyone else as of August 2025. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details, and Mazda brings this same intention to how we craft every single model. You can make everyday drives feel like anything, but from smooth handling to intuitive controls, and with all-wheel drive standard in every single crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. So, like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Because when you make every single move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. NFL draft storylines. And Keith, you said you have a hot one, a spicy one. Let's talk about it. What's your NFL draft storyline to keep an eye on?
There may be only one quarterback, and if you're an NFL team, you better start liking these veterans, right? Because in just this, I think this is storyline, DP, 3 weeks into college football, that there's a case to be made that there's not a case to be made for a lot of quarterbacks to go in the first round, right? We've seen okay play from a lot of quarterbacks, and I think that at this point they just simply have to take steps forward. And do I believe that they have the talent to? Yes. But I think, and you probably went through the same process when writing your reports, right? Writing up these quarterbacks, there was always a way that you've seen it going really well, or you've seen it be like, he can play to the floor. Like all these guys had ceilings and floors that can vary, right? And unfortunately, right now, a lot of these quarterbacks are playing to the floor, but can they turn it on? Can they get hot? Can they play towards the ceiling? It's possible. I just think if I'm a general manager sitting right now, I'm a little bit nervous, right? Like the Cleveland Browns is like you start looking at, you might want to start treating Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders a little bit better, right? You know what I'm saying? Give them a better parking spot. Just things like that, right? You talked about it, the New Orleans Saints, right? You like Spencer Rattler ain't that bad, right? He's not that bad. I kind of like Spence. You might want to put out a little ad marketing campaign, the Rattlers here or something like that, right? Because as of now, it's just I think the best way to put it, DP, is it's looking a little bit shaky.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think through 3 weeks, and we talked about this off air. I believe it was maybe a couple of days ago.
Yeah, yep.
College football has done these. Yeah, so college football, like this whole like no spring game and limited spring practice and like that stuff has really hurt these kids, because as an NFL player, right? It's and even then you still deal with some rust, but you get OTAs, minicamp, training camp, preseason, then the NFL regular season. You play enough, you get enough snaps, you know the offense, all the type of stuff like that. College football, and I get it, they're student athletes, so you can't allocate as much time as the NFL because it's not a full-time job. But you still could, like, you need to give them more time on task, man. Like this is not good. Like, and not even just from a quarterback standpoint, from like a holistic prospect standpoint. You got guys transferring late in the portal. You shouldn't be able to enter the portal during the summertime, like in my opinion, because it's not even good for you. Like, don't get me wrong, it worked for Trinidad Chambliss last week. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like for Ole Miss, but that's a one-off. Most guys transfer in.
He's one of maybe 10 quarterbacks that made moves that
Yes.
it's not going the right way,
It's
right?
not going the right way.
Yeah, it may be I'll go him, John Mateer, and we'll figure out about a Fernando Mendoza, right? How that looks. I think we'll figure out this week because I think they have a big time matchup. But I'm right there with you, DP. And it's not only just the quarterbacks transferring, but you take a guy like a Garrett Nussmeier, he's pretty much throwing to
new receivers,
all new wide receivers, right? Nick Anderson, Barry Brown transfers in. Then you have
Xavier Thomas, a LSU guy.
I want to say he's a transfer. I want to say this young man started somewhere else.
Because I don't recall him last year, to be honest.
Yeah, don't quote me on that, but I want to say he started somewhere else. He started his collegiate career. Then even the tight end, Bauer Sharp, right, was at Oklahoma.
Oh, yeah.
Then you're talking about new offensive linemen. I think they have 2 or 3 new offensive linemen. And this is not a slight at LSU and what this is the land of the transfer portal, right? Like you either do it or you get left behind in some sorts. But what we're pointing to is that these guys have new weapons and they're all trying to figure it out. And I guarantee you can go through every single roster in college football, or at least these college. Maybe the only team that doesn't have a pass, maybe Clemson, right? Like they're the only ones that, you look at the Cade Klubnik situation, but
they don't use the portal.
They don't use it at all, right? Lenore Sellers has new weapons, right? Trying to think of more quarterbacks we had to. Drew Aller has new weapons. Like all of these guys have. Fernando Mendoza is just in a totally new spot.
This man's on a whole different side of the country. US.
Yeah. So it's just impacting it, and it's just an unfortunate situation because one, we were excited for all of these college quarterbacks, and then 2, trying to understand and project these guys have become exponentially more complex. And you hope, because this is usually what it is, DP, is that usually the first couple of weeks of the football season, the college football season, is you're kind of knocking out the wrinkles, right? And then those are your warm-up games, you're getting right, getting everything good to then head into the difficult conference play. But the issue thus far has been even the warm-up games have been kind of difficult, right? Like they've been, so now you're about to hit conference play, and so I think we're really about to figure out the fray. But I will say on the flip side of that is that we do have some exciting names, right? When you look at a Joey Aguilar at Tennessee and what he's able to do. We talked about John Mateer with Oklahoma, right? Dante Moore with Oregon. So there are some quarterbacks. We talked about Taylor Green, and I think you talked about him on was that yesterday's episode,
Monday?
right?
Yeah, Monday.
You talked about him. So there are some quarterbacks that emerging, and maybe it's just not the names that we thought it would be, just because of everything and all the fluid situation and fluid process at the wide receiver position.
No, you're 100% right, and that's why I'm happy that, because Fernando Mendoza, my QB1 coming in, and there was projection to that, getting them out from behind that terrible offensive line at Cal, getting them somewhere where he could be protected, stuff like that. But he hasn't fully been tested. Now, granted, Indiana did the smart thing. Was like, we got to transfer a quarterback who's getting used to timing, rhythm, and all our receivers. Cupcakes, 3 straight weeks. I get it. But now you get that real test, and we'll talk about that more likely on tomorrow's show. Spoiler alert, might be my make a statement player. You know what I mean? Against Illinois. But I'm with you, Keith. And I for my storyline to watch, it's the tight end class. Like right now, like watching what you've seen a little bit of Elijah Royo with Seattle. We knew once Tyler Warren was drafted to Indianapolis, he was going to get the ball a lot. Like they didn't have a good tight end in that room. He's an easy button, and Shane Steichen is scheming them open, getting them stuff, getting them like in space where he could just become that run after catch threat that he was at Penn State. So shout out to them. And I think that is a situation when you look at Kenyon Sadiq. Now he's one of the best blockers right now. And you want to see, especially Oregon, that's not going to cut it against Penn State. I'm just letting you know right now. Just use him as a blocker. It's not going to get it done. You're going to have to use him as a pass catcher. Like, use him the way you used him last year, but now in a full-fledged offense. You got Jack Andrews at Texas, Max Clare at Ohio State, who I really like. This is a Big dude. He's got athleticism. I think he's like 6'5", 240, somewhere in there, but he can stretch the field. Oscar Delp, Eli Stowers, kid at Houston over there with Connor Wegman. He's
Connor
like that's
Wegman,
his
yep.
Tanner Koizel, 6'7", 240. Like this is a tight end class that the guy that the people don't know about, and we'll see him this weekend against Utah. Terrence Carter Jr. from Texas Tech, 6'2", 245. This dude can play. This is a good, talented group of tight ends. Now we just want the production from the quarterbacks, getting them the football so that they can produce and showcase what they can do besides just run blocking and running routes. Let's get these guys the talent. But I think watching the tight end class, at the end of the day, you look at Kansas City, Travis Kelce ain't getting any younger, man. And I'm pretty sure this might be his last year, or it should be. So yeah, he's gotten engaged to Swift. Go be happy. You know what I mean? Just go live life and be happy, dog. You know what I mean?
You better watch out, DP. Those Swifties gonna come get you, man.
Hey, listen,
get you. You better watch
out.
He
hit the jackpot. So shout out to him. Like, just go home, be happy with Taylor Swift, and just enjoy life, because he's not getting any better at this stage of his career. So maybe Kansas City needs a tight end, right? Like, there's multiple teams that could be looking for the next Trey McBride, the next Tyler Warren. Eventually, we expect Ben Johnson to get Colston Loveland and Cole Kmet working at the same time in their offense. Like, this tight end class is good, it's talented, and these guys look like NFL players. It's not like a bunch of 6'2", 230 guys that look like extended slot receivers. Oscar Delp himself is 6'5", 245. Like, he looks like he's a grown man. Like, he looks like it.
Lawson Lucky is another one to pay attention to at Georgia.
Georgia feels like 17 of them. At this point, it's just who's going to get the ball. This is the main thing.
Yep. Well, dude, let's do this, DP. Let's throw on the hat and whistle, man. The Coach 'em Up segment is coming up where we pick NFL draft prospect. We hand them to the coaches. We say, listen, coach this guy up, and you have a high-level talent on your hands. We're going to talk about that coming up next.
Caffeine just got a flavor upgrade. 5-hour energy shots delivered tasty caffeine in 17 bold new flavors. Each 2-ounce shot packs the caffeine of a premium 12-ounce cup of coffee, plus B vitamins, nutrients, and with 0 sugar and 0 crashes. You gotta love that, right? What I love most, though, is how portable they are. Big taste, big energy, tiny shot. And you can take it anywhere and get that boost when you need it. Doesn't matter where you go, it's portable to go with you. So enough with the boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5-hour energy shots. Get your favorites. Get the favorites you love, or you can be bold and try something new in-store and online at www.5hourenergy.com or on Amazon today. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every single day, but on Prize Picks, being right means cashing in. With football back, Prize Picks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes all in less than 60 seconds, less than a full minute. So download the Prize Picks app today. Why? Because it's quick, easy, and honestly, it's my favorite way to follow along with football. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. Coach them up, guys. That prospect that, hey, Coach K, Coach DP found and said, listen, if you coach him up, he's going to be a hit for you. And Keith, I go right to the offensive tackle spot because it feels like no one's talking about this offensive tackle class, like at all, right?
And I think it's a good offensive tackle class.
It is. And I go right. I do too. So I go right to Alabama and I go to Caden Proctor. And big number 74, outstanding run blocker. But I think in pass pro, his issues pop up in terms of the issues he has are technical. They're coachable. You know what I mean? Whether it's hand carriage, punch timing, using the same punch mechanics of feinting the outside hand, trying to bait the edge rusher, and you keep doing that stuff over and over. Now they're baiting you. Not getting out, not getting enough depth in his pass sets and creating short corners and everything, which are easier for edge rushers to work around and corner to the quarterback, things of that nature, because it's hard to run through him, right? And I think that's why I want to see him, just his process. He's a young kid, young man, and he's 6'7", 360. So no, Keith, you're not going to power through this dude. You're not going to bull rush through him and walk him down into the hip of the quarterback. You can go ahead and cancel those plans, all right? That's not a vacation you're about to take. But like, you can work around him, and he's the type of guy that in college I would have hated for Kaden to face a Latu Latu. I would have hated for him to face, because Latu's so technically refined as a pass rusher, he would have probably owned that matchup. That's why for me it's like, and this is why I feel, Keith. I feel like the NFL, if he doesn't kind of correct some of these things, the NFL is going to do what they always do. Drop a player stock. And what's one team that just shops in the SEC religiously? The Philadelphia Eagles.
The Eagles. I was about to say.
And then we get to the back of the first round or wherever they draft, right? And the Eagles take Caden Proctor. And it's like, so he gets to go to Jeff Stoutland University. Great. You know what I mean? The best O-line coach in the game. And then, halfway through his rookie year, he's out there balling. And then we got people asking, how did we let Caden Proctor, how do we keep doing this? Same song and dance with the Eagles. How do we let this happen? How do we let them get Jalen Carter? Well, you guys decided to ignore Jalen Carter and just, Chicago, you traded down and you could have picked them and stuff. We keep letting this happen. I feel like that's probably one of those situations where if he doesn't fix the mechanics, some teams might be turned off, and Howie Roseman's going to look like a genius again. Like, well, I needed a long-term tackle behind Lane Johnson.
Yeah, it was similar, and we predicted this, right? And we kind of nailed the Chiefs picks the past 2 years in a row. Remember, we was like, you know what? Xavier Worthy gonna fall. He's gonna fall right to the Kansas City Chiefs.
We did.
Then last year we said, hey, to be honest, Josh Simmons is probably the best offensive tackle in his class. If he clears medicals, I would take him in the top 10. But he's probably going to fall, and he's going to fall to the Kansas City Chiefs, right?
Kansas City Chiefs.
Yep, we said it. But I agree with you, DP, looking at Caden Proctor, man. It's all hands, right? Because this is a guy that can easily just play inside leverage and then force people through him and then just sit there. But it's punch timing, and then it's him. I think it's a combination of punch timing and him eager to engage in contact. Yeah. He has to learn to sit back in his hips more. Yeah, just sit back in his hips more and throw the punches. So that's going to be his biggest area of improvement. Because like you said, the 6'6", 6'7", 360 pounds, you're not bull rushing this guy.
And he can move too.
And he can move. Yep. I'm going to go with this, DP, and it's going to sound interesting, right? I'm going to go with Colorado cornerback DJ McKinney. And the reason I say this sound interesting because it's like I'm telling a corner coming from Colorado, right, with Deion Sanders that he
Coach
can,
Prime.
that he can get coached up some more. But man, DJ McKinney listed at 6'1", 6'2", right around that 190-pound mark. This is a guy that has really good length. He shows some quick twitch ability, but for him, it's more about the technicality in playing press man, right? And right now he's a hard inside type of guy, but you won't be able to do that against every wide receiver in the NFL. But I like what he provides. He shows some ball skills. I wouldn't say that they're elite, that he always gets his head around, but I think what he can do is play himself. If, like, let's say he's playing at his very best, I think he can play himself into a top 50-ish type pick. But that's him playing his very best, right? And there are some reps where he looks more like a third, fourth rounder, right? Like, but he has the physical tools to get the job done. So I like DJ McKinney if I'm telling an NFL team. And you think about some of these, the Kansas City Chiefs had a couple of these guys. I'm thinking of Juan Thornhill, right, from a few years ago, guy that had a lot of length. And then what's the young man that was with Kansas City and then signed with the Tennessee Titans? L'Jarius Sneed, right? Some of these long corners that appear to have long arms and things like that. So I'm looking at DJ McKinney as a guy that I'm saying coach him up.
I like that a lot. When I was watching them, and the man coverage was the biggest issue. It was the technique. It was just a process. Like he opens the gate too early and different things like that. And I'm gonna tell you who he reminds me of. It reminds me of AJ Terrell, Avion Terrell's older brother. And it's the same thing. Like where you may not, these aren't like 4-3 athletes. So being technically refined and sound are going to be key for you against
key.
Some of the, like it's key
you
against
have to be.
Some of these receivers you're going to face. Is like if you miss that punch, if you step the wrong way and like you lock your hip and you let these guys get around you, you in trail and you playing out of phase. And now the only thing is on your mind is like, I just got to catch up. Like I can't worry about where the ball is right now.
That's when the penalties come, right? Because then you throw the back shoulder, or the penalties come, or the long touchdowns come. One of the two.
Either way,
nothing good comes from
it's a bad result regardless. So I think I'm with you. And I think that's going to be his big thing is just the visual aspect of it. And then when you are in phase, turn and look read the receiver. If you look at him and he's looking back for the ball, his eyes are getting big. Turn your head. Like those are key. You can tell you can tell by like the receiver's body. Like they are preparing to catch the football. Some guys aren't as nuanced as a Devontae Adams to just late hands every catch. Everybody's not like that. Some of these guys panic and they're like, man, he's in my hip pocket. I'm trying to create a little room. And you can tell when they're trying to jostle for position because the ball's on the way. When you feel that, turn and look. And now you're in position to make a play on the football. So I like that because DJ McKinney is not a cornerback that a lot of people talk about, but he's got NFL skill set and size that you like. And you just want to see him take that next step.
Yep, I agree with DP. That wraps up another episode, man, of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I want to end this podcast off by saying shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day. I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at The Talent Code. That right there is my guy, my co-host, Mr. Damian Parson. You can find him on X at DP_NFL. And like we like to say, man, y'all come talk to us because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts to get the latest episode as soon as it is available on tomorrow's show. You know it's Friday, and you know what we do on Friday. Make a statement on the offensive side of the ball. Fernando Mendoza, you're up to bat. Make a statement for the defensive side of the ball, and then those sleepers to watch in week 4 of college football for the 2026 NFL Draft. So come and join the conversation again tomorrow. The Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.